Kenya Power is the only off-taker of electricity generated in the country. So Kenya Power sells that electricity. The revenue that is received from sale of electricity is shared amongst all the sector players. Kenchen selling power to Kenya Power, IPPs sell power to Kenya Power, Ketraco, they offer transmission services to Kenya Power at a fee. Then REREC, as the chair has rightfully said, they are now involved in generation and they sell power to Kenya Power. And then at the same time, Kenya Power operates and manages the rural network that has been done by REREC. Then the GDC sells steam to Kenchen. And then now we have the other stakeholders, financiers and service providers who all rely on the revenue that is collected by Kenya Power to finance their activities. And therefore, Kenya Power on the other side, they are the ones who serve the customers, they are the ones who collect the money from the customers to enable all the sector players to meet their financial obligations.
We meet at a time when the cost of energy is very high. The cost of single token of power is currently at 25 shillings 0.64 cents. This has significantly affected the cost of living of every Kenyan. The key sectors like agriculture, industrialization, transport, information technology have been adversely affected by the high cost of energy. We are losing companies to our neighbors to set up cottage industries because the cost of power is cheaper in those countries. We must ask ourselves very tough questions as to what needs to be done to bring down the cost of energy. We must be bold and without fear or favor in coming up with solutions to bring the cost of electricity down. When you speak to farmers in Kenya, they will tell you that the cost of power and the cost of farming has become too expensive because of power of electricity. Every item that a farmer uses in the farm is manufactured using power. When the cost of electricity goes up, it is passed to the farmers. Other farmers are unable to irrigate their lands because they rely on electricity to pump water to irrigate their crops. The net effect on agriculture is food insecurity in the country. We are all aware that Kenya generates 70%, or so we are told, of the electricity consumed in the country. And when it comes to payments, we are told or made to believe that it receives only 48% of the total payments by Kenya Power. Other IPPs generate 30% of the power and receive payments of 52%. That sounds like an inconsistent and something that will need to be explained to the committee and indeed to the Kenyans how that is logical. My committee has resolved to look into all independent power producers and power purchase agreement signed. How is it possible for an IPP and its power agreement have its power agreement signed in 6 days, while others take years to get it done? This is a question that we must get an answer to, and therefore we have resolved as a committee to constitute an inquiry to find out just how we got ourselves there. As a committee, we resolute our parts to ensure that any PPA that was signed without the good interest of Kenya should be revoked or renegotiated. Energy Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPLA. I'm glad that you're also here. You are supposed to be people's watchdog by regulating all these people in the energy sector. You have been going around the country collecting views to increase the tariffs by Kenya Power. The question I have for you is, did one single person say that you should increase power? If no one said, how then would you increase it? That's a question that we would want you to answer. What other stakeholders or organizations do you invite when seeking public participation? I ask this question because you have not engaged this committee or invited it or to go through the matter.
The difference between peak demand and available capacity in the evening is only 4%. That is a very dangerous place for us to be as a country. The recommended is 15%. But what we have as a country is 4%. What does this one mean? If we get a small disturbance, if one machine goes off or one part of the network has a problem, this is what leads to a national blackout, because there is no spinning capacity to take over. But if with the gap between peak demand and available capacity at that time has some headroom, it is possible for the system to adjust itself and continue supplying. But when you don't have the headroom, and you remove generation or transmission that the system cannot be able to hold, the system will just start collapsing in cascade, like what we had on Saturday. It was not KPLC, although everybody cast KPLC, but we worked together with our brothers to restore the system. And you know, the national blackout is very dangerous because you take between 5 and 7 hours to restart. Good enough, we did not restart from we did have a black start. Uganda interconnector was remained intact, and therefore we were able to pick the reference point from there into Lesos, into Nakuru, into Naivasha, into Nairobi, and then we went to pick the hydros, and then we picked the thermos, and by 11:30, we had restored power supply in the country. We are not defending ourselves, honorable members. We are just showing how the sector looks like, so that as a country we join hands together and sort out the issues in the sector. Because unless we handle them objectively, we will continue talking about the same thing for very many years. Because I believe these discussions have been here. Discussions about KPLC have been here. Discussions about the sector have been here. And I was happy when I heard your commitment to fix the sector. And we work together because we are